Welcome to Travel Family Academy's weekly videos where we teach you how to make traveling with your baby or toddler a breeze. My name is Marae, and today we're going to learn some tips to help your toddler sleep on any flight. If you haven't yet, make sure you're following us on Instagram at Travel Family Academy and that you hit the subscribe button so you get all of our weekly videos that are going to help you put together all the tips you need to secure a successful flight with your baby or toddler. Right before I forget, let me let you know that on the 19th of this month, we are hosting a workshop entirely on the subject of helping your baby sleep. So if you have a flight soon, or if you've experienced already flights in the past and didn't have success with your baby sleeping on a flight, if you're stressed about an upcoming vacation and you just don't know how to get your baby or toddler to fall asleep, come to our workshop. It's going to be amazing. It's going to be filled with information on how to get your baby to sleep on every flight. These are proven techniques we know that work, and we're going to be leaving the link at the bottom in this description of this video, so make sure you look that up on your way to subscribing if you want to come to our workshop. Now let's jump right into it. 12 tips to help your toddler sleep on every flight. Number 1 is going to be prepare your toddler ahead of time. Now, a lot of people think that because babies and toddlers can't really communicate the way that we do, that they don't understand what is going on. But the reality is that there are many ways for your child to know what is happening. They sense your energy, they hear you talking about it, and they definitely understand. And they just kind of sense, just like we do. You know how you sense when something is happening? They have the same ability. So talking to your baby and or toddler about a flight can actually help them feel a lot better and included in the planning of a trip. One thing we always do with our toddler is let her know ahead of the flight that we're flying soon. Hey, in 2 days we're gonna get on a plane. Hey, you know what we're doing next week? We're getting on a plane. Hey, guess who we're going to see next week? Grandpa and Grandma. We're gonna get on a plane. It's gonna be so fun. Remember the last time we went on a plane, etc., etc. We have an entire channel. We have an entire video dedicated to telling you tips on how to prep them for the flight, how to do this bit of getting them prepared. So go ahead and look for the link below as well. We'll link it there. We have a whole blog post on it. But for right now, all we're going to say is to remember that children are just like us. And the more part of things they feel, the easier it's going to be for them to adjust to what's going on, right? Especially if they're a toddler and they're a little bit more aware, it's a good idea to let them know a week ahead of time. And one really good way to do that is also with books. That really sets the tone. Number 2 is create a comfortable environment. So remember how the first day of school, your mom got you all set up and did everything that she could to make sure, like packed your favorite lunch, your favorite snacks, and bought you all sorts of school things and your favorite color? Well, you're probably doing that for your kid as well soon. Actually, you probably did it for the first day of daycare, but it's really important that you do it for the flight as well. So for example, if you're going to a tropical destination, don't forget that the flight may be really cold, especially on the way back when your body's already sunburned or you're used to different temperatures. If your baby sleeps with a sleep toy, bring that along with you. If, they normally wear this t-shirt like right before bedtime or for bedtime, bring that along, or their favorite PJs, etc. So create an environment of comfort for your child. If you know they're sensitive to noise, bring some, noise canceling headphones. You get the drift. The idea here is to bring comfort items that your child is going to feel good about having with him or her during a flight. In case they do get scared or nervous about what is happening, they can at least have something familiar with them. Tip number 3. If your baby is super tiny, you might not want to have headphones. You might not want to have them listening to anything else. But ear canceling headphones actually help a lot. They help a lot also for takeoff and landing. If you haven't watched our video, make sure you watch it below. We give you more tips on how to handle takeoff and landing. But also, headphones and earmuffs can really help your child just relax through the entire flight and can really help them go to sleep. So a lot of times, especially when they're, again, a little bit older, they get easily stimulated with anything that is happening around them. And so by canceling out the noise around them, you can actually help them transition into the sleeping mode, especially if you're going to follow some of the other tips we're going to be telling you next. Number 4. Bring your bedtime routine. So I can't stress this enough. For a lot of people, this seems really strange because obviously you're not going to give your baby a bath in the plane. But whatever you do right before bed, besides the bath, just repeat it. On the first flight or two, what I actually try to do is replicate the bath with Alaska with wipes. So we go into the restroom and I wipe her down entirely. But even if you cannot do the whole bath part, you can still do the teeth brushing, you can still do the reading of the story, you can still do the cuddles or the singing or whatever it is that you do at night that helps your toddler sort of get into the whole transition of sleep. So we all know at this point, if you have a baby, and if you haven't, let me let you know that routine is the key to find success with children. So do not make that flight, that really exciting event, even more exciting by not repeating a routine that your child is already used to for sleep. So whatever it is that you do at home for sleep, try to replicate on the flight. On our first flight with Alaska, we brought a carrier and got up and actually walked, because that's what we used to do at home, right? So whatever it is that you do, try to bring your flight, and that'll help your toddler or baby feel the cues for sleep and in turn help them fall asleep easier. Number 5 is not my favorite tip, but obviously it's something that is still useful and a lot of people recommend, and it is try to book a flight during the hours that your child normally sleeps, right? For me, this is not a super successful tip, because then it puts the parent in a very, difficult situation. Like, do you take a super early morning flight? What if your toddler changes the nap time that day? What if you're trying to also adjust them to the new schedule of where you'll be flying to? But if you are a first-time flyer and you want to sort of guarantee your baby falls asleep, it's a good idea to definitely try to fly during nap time, one of the baby's nap times, as this is most likely or more likely than not going to land it some of the time the baby sleeps, even if they sleep, for takeoff or through landing or just a little bit in the middle of a plane. It's a lot better than having a baby that does not sleep through the flight at all. So that is definitely something to try. My next tip is to bring snacks and water. So a hungry baby doesn't sleep. A thirsty baby does not sleep. And I'm speaking from a person who wakes up at least once every night, because Alaska is still thirsty. She drinks so much water. But if you have a baby that's well fed and not thirsty, they're more likely to, again, be comfortable and fall asleep for longer. So make sure your baby, especially when you fly, we all get dehydrated, and for children it's even more so, and they don't always have the capacity to understand what is happening or to communicate it. So make sure your baby and or toddler stays hydrated through the entire flight period and also before the flight. We always give Alaska plenty of water the day before flying and the day of flying in the morning before we even get to the airport, and just continue offering water throughout the day, because sometimes they may not realize they're thirsty and they're actually dehydrated. So just make sure you offer plenty of water and like a fulfilling food right before takeoff, so that your child has a full belly and they can fall asleep for a little bit longer. The next tip is to bring a baby carrier. I swear by baby carriers, I swear my child is so big. She's almost 40 pounds and she's super long, and I still board the flight with a carrier. Oftentimes by the time we get to the seat, she's already asleep. A baby carrier is a godsend. Let's say your baby refuses to be sitting down and you have to be strolling around through the flight. It's a lot easier to do in a carrier. Feeling close to your body may cue them to fall asleep. You can leave them strapped on awake if you have a tiny baby next to you and still take a nap, right? But not having them in a carrier is kind of like nerve-wracking. So a carrier is an absolute must for getting your baby to sleep. We used to get up and, like I said before, walk around the plane just back and forth a couple times with her when she was a baby inside the carrier, and like this, she'd fall asleep. Be prepared for potential sleep disruptions. So I know this is not the tip that anybody wants to hear, but I think one of the keys to success when flying with a child that young is to be prepared for whatever can happen, right? So there is a chance your child will not sleep. There is a chance they're going to be so excited they're not going to want to sleep on that flight. So be prepared for that. Bring extra snacks, bring extra entertainment, bring extra diapers, because that may happen a lot too. Here's a super pro tip. Movement and the excitement of flying make children want to go to the bathroom more. So always pack an extra set of diapers and a change of clothing, because you never know if you're gonna need it, and likely you will need it. On my last flight, I went through 14 diapers. I am not exaggerating. Number 9. Use a white noise machine. Now, this is especially good if you have a tiny baby. When they're a little bit older, I feel like the noise of a plane alone can sort of like, help them fall asleep. But when they're little babies, especially if you do this at home, definitely bring with you a white noise machine. Extra bonuses if you bring the car seat with the white noise machine and a swaddle blanket, then you would just cuddle it, make it like a little cocoon, and that is guaranteed they're gonna fall asleep, almost like 98%, right? But the white noise machine can really help out, especially if your baby is hypersensitive to noise or super aware of everything and super excited, and that in that age where they start like realizing what things are, it's near impossible to get them to sleep if you don't have something that's completely blocking out the noise of the airplane, especially if they already know when they already know what the snack cart looks like and sounds like. Alaska now, if she hears a snack cart, she is not going to bed until that thing is gone because she knows what's coming. So just keep that in mind. But a white noise machine really, really comes in handy when it comes to getting them to bed because it blocks out all the other noise from the plane. Number 10, be flexible and be patient. So one of the things that I have done that is a major mistake is if she refuses to sleep at the beginning of the flight, when you thought, or at the time that you thought that she was going to sleep, is just giving up on the fact that they'll sleep. Like, okay, she's not gonna go to sleep. I'm upset. I'm tired. Or you know what? Let's go play this crazy game. Or no, if it's time to sleep, maybe your child needs an extra 20 minutes, 30 minutes of chill. Maybe they just need to sort of like really, really wind down from the excitement of a flight. Maybe the time change, maybe the pressure, whatever it is, right? So give yourself some grace. Give your baby a little patience and just wait it out. Give at least 30 minutes after you thought they were going to fall asleep before you give up, because they may just be winding down and that actually can lead to them falling asleep a little bit later, but still falling asleep. So do not give up so quickly and be a little patient with your babies. Number 11, use sleep and comfort items. So again, this is not something that we super recommend all the time, but it's definitely something you want to consider if there are things that help you at home. You can consider taking a travel pillow, a specific travel blanket. You can consider getting a sleep mask for your baby if they're like sensitive to like a lot of light, for example. You can, the sound sleep machine, which we already talked about, the travel footrest, and a bed box or any of those items, but do make sure that they are allowed by your airline. So one thing I'll say, obviously for a sleep mask or the white noise machine, that is totally fine. But sometimes airlines will not allow a bed box or an inflatable footrest pillow or any of those items. So do double check with the airline before you fly, just to make sure. And you know, this is why we make such a big deal on teaching, and that's what we're going to be teaching, by the way, on our workshop on the 19th of February. One of the things that we always teach on our workshop, and if you haven't heard of this, we have this amazing workshop coming up. It's called the Ready to Sleep Baby, where we teach you everything you need to know on how to guarantee your baby sleeps on any flight, regardless of any of these tips, right? But here's the kicker though. You can try to get your baby to sleep with all these tips, and you can try to bring things that entice sleep. But a lot of times it's not about the gadget. A lot of times it goes a little bit deeper than that. And that is exactly what we're going to be teaching you on that workshop, okay? But just before you decide to bring any of these items into the flight, just make sure they're aligned by the airline, because it's happened to many people where they, you know, buy the super expensive bed box, which is like $230 or $200 if you get it on sale. And then your airline doesn't allow you to open it up and you ended up wasting all that money, right? Remember that a lot of times with children, it's not about what you're buying, but about the creativity that you're bringing to the table. Your child at the end of the day is human, and you know him better than anybody else. You know your cues, you know when your baby's tired, you know your baby has to sleep at some point in the day. And sometimes our own mindset is what blocks us from allowing that to happen. So just keep that in mind before you go and spend a lot of money on props that may not be necessary. And now for number 12, it's the warning of what I just told you, which is bring novelty items. So one thing I like to do is to, you know, reward your child with something for the sleep experience, right? So for example, a special flying PJ, you know, or a special cuddle toy for the vacation if you don't want to dirty the one at home, or whatever it is, right? Make sure it's not super exciting. You can also bring novelty items like the trunky luggage, you know, again, a bed box or something like that. Like once we made the bed box for Alaska on a flight, and I think the excitement of knowing that it was a bed that was for her for the flight made her go to sleep. She like instantly fell asleep like a little old lady, just like all cuddled in watching her little tablet, right? So sometimes some of these things do make a difference, and you should definitely give it a shot. Just remember that at the end of the day, you have a lot of the power when it comes to getting your child to sleep, because you can help your kid before, during, and during the flight with cues and with all of these tips that you hopefully find very helpful to get your baby ready for sleep. It's also super important that you exercise your baby before that flight. So if you have a tiny baby that's not walking yet, you can just bring a mat, and right when you're waiting to board, throw that mat on the floor, let your baby crawl around if you're feeling icky about the floor, you know, or a blanket, but exercise that baby. If you have a toddler, obviously let him run around that airport as many times as possible. Go run errands with your baby, whatever it takes. Just remember, a tired baby is a baby that is more likely than not to fall asleep, and flights are very comfortable. They have lots of rocking and lots of like white noise type of noise. So it's an ideal atmosphere for a child to fall asleep, because bonus, they actually fit on the seat, not like us. So I hope you found this helpful. If you really want to learn everything that there is to know about getting your baby to sleep, going deeper into some of these tips and some of this advice, and a training that is really going to liberate you from the angst of thinking, oh my gosh, what if my child does not sleep on the flight? If you're feeling like you could use some support in this department, remember that you can find a link right below to join our workshop where we will teach you everything you need to know on how to get your baby to sleep on the Ready to Sleep baby. Thank you so much for watching, and don't forget to hit the subscribe button and share it with a mom friend if you found it helpful. See you next time.